I'm 3 years old. I'm sitting in the dining room with my sister and mother. We're eating watermelon. It's sweet. Suddenly there is an alarm. We have 1 minute to go to the shelter. We are at a shelter. 7 years later, I'm 10 years old. There is another alarm. There are lots of sirens. We are again in the shelter. I grew up. I'm an adult. I understand. I was in the 67 war and the 73 war. My life is all around emergency situations. I think it's the human condition. I grew old. I traveled the world, and I understand that it is the Israeli way of life and other places. But there are a lot of places that there is tranquility and base. Nowadays, I'm Dr. Galit Ben-Israel. I deal with disaster management and counterterrorism via social media, Web 2.0. Nowadays, lots of places have disaster, natural disasters, mega terror attacks, mini wars. And I tell from my experience, my own self-experience, and also from my research experience. Let the presentation begin. What's in the presentation? Disaster management has changed in 3 principal dimensions in our global digital area. 3 players are engaged in emergency activities in social network. We call it a CEC model. We will speak about more crises than ever and why. 5 case studies for intensive examination. And there is the summary and the recommendation. What should the authorities do? Disaster management has changed in 3 principal dimensions: means, trends, tools. Means, digital global technologies, smartphones, satellites. Tools, social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, etc. Smartphones and applications. Trends like sharing, cooperation, the wisdom of the crowds. CEC crisis management model. Companies, global digital companies like Google, like Facebook, like Twitter, who are helping people in times of crisis and disasters. Emergency authorities and the citizens, the digital citizens, the Web 2.0 citizens. During a crisis, these are the 3 players that are engaged in emergency activities in the social networks. More crises than ever. Why there are more crises than ever in the digital global era, especially in the Web 2.0 era? Why? Because we are living in cities. We have a urbanization phenomena. There are more natural disasters, and there are more mega global terror events, and there are more mini wars. Enough with the big wars, there are now small mini wars. Okay, the digital global technology has turned us into a global village. We are close to each other. We take photos from the event, and then we send them in our smartphones and in our through social networks. In this presentation, we'll talk about 5 case studies for intensive examination. We'll talk about 3 natural disasters: the Haiti earthquake, the Tokyo earthquake and tsunami, and also Hurricane Sandy. And we'll speak about 2 security crises: Operation Pillar of Defense, also known as part of, it's kind of a mini war, also known as part of the Israel-Gaza conflict, and Boston Marathon bombings. how the Haiti story was being told online. An estimate 3 million people were affected by the quake in Haiti in 2010. The American Red Cross set a record for mobile donations. People all over the world donate $10 using text messages with their mobile phone technology. OpenStreetMap community responded to the disaster, and they were mapping the earthquake points. Google Earth updated the area. With communication in Haiti badly damaged by earthquake, like in every disaster, people on the island were using the internet to get their voices heard, and they shaped the international news agenda. They changed the news agenda for few days and also forever. The web and social networking sites have become the primary method of communication for individuals, for aid workers, for bloggers, for charities, for users in social networks all over the world. Many have uploaded pictures in Facebook, Instagram, Flickr. Many people have joined Facebook group. Haiti earthquake was the biggest group on Facebook. Several Facebook groups have been set up, some to raise money for Haiti, others to share mobile numbers, others to track relatives and loved ones, others to give and share information. There were lots of updates about Haiti on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter has become a focal point for real-time information. There were lots of hashtags, Help Haiti, Haiti, Red Cross, quake, and charity. After the Haiti earthquake, emergency rescue forces have realized that their previous management model has collapsed. We nowadays, after Haiti, and because of Haiti, has a new model of disaster management, and the authorities and emergency rescue forces have to listen to the people reports, and people reports are no longer on phones. They are on Facebook, on Twitter, on social networks, on application with the smartphones. So the citizens, the digital citizens, the social network citizens are changing the disaster management. The second one was the earthquake off the Pacific coast of Tokyo. It was the most powerful known earthquake ever to hit Japan. Cellular and landline phone service suffered major disruptions. People couldn't phone. The phone system collapsed. They couldn't get help by phones from the security and the government, but the internet survived. Twitter was online. People could tweet and tell the security forces where they are. The security forces could help them, could save their lives. Okay, Twitter, YouTube, Flickr were constantly updated with information about the nuclear crisis, about volunteers, about where to go, ways to go, about shelters, about who to rescue. Many citizens couldn't call a 119 emergency, so they used Twitter. Citizens used Twitter to inform the world, their families, the rescue, and the authorities, their friends, where they are. And they also use Twitter for the tensions and fear. Thanks to Twitter, physicians in Japan were able to help and survive their patients. The third one, the third disaster, natural disaster, is Hurricane Sandy in New York, New Jersey, also in the United States, or Superstorm Sandy. It was one of the most deadliest hurricane storm in the history of United States. Wireline operation collapsed. People couldn't call. The operation center collapsed. So the governor of New Jersey, the governor of New York tweeted all the time. They tweeted in Twitter and become heroes because they used Twitter because they understand that people can fund and survive themselves and help themselves, and they are tweeting to the forces, to the rescue forces to help themselves. The governors tweeted to the people, go from here, go from there, and help them. They adapt themselves to the citizens. There were many hashtags in this Sandy storm. Twitter was online all the time. Even in the resilience after the storm, there was needed to tell people where to turn on, where to follow recovery efforts and transport information, also in Twitter. The fourth one is a security case. It called Operation Pillar of Defense. It was in 3 years ago, and I was in Israel when it happened. So I'm also I'm a survivor and also a researcher of this operation. It was Operation Pillar of Defense. It was an 8-day Israel Defense Forces IDF operation in Gaza Strip. But I'm not talking about the IDF operation in Gaza Strip. I'm speaking about, and my research is about how the Israelis in the home front, mainly in Tel Aviv, but in all Israel, use the social the social networks, mainly Facebook, but also use application, etc., to help themselves. In the Operation Pillar of Defense, the home front was attacked with rockets, with Hamas rockets. Tel Aviv was not hit for the first time since 1991. Rockets were fired at Jerusalem for the first time. After rockets had been fired at Tel Aviv during the operation, messages could not be sent in most of the cellular networks. Also, you couldn't phone. But the Facebook was working. Applications in smartphone were working. So the rescue forces adapt themselves to the digital Israeli citizens. They send them messages by Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. Also, there were some Israeli high-tech inventors who were inventing voluntarily through the operation some applications, or what you call a shelter application, a public shelter application for the people who are in the streets, where to go. One of them, this is his story, a very impressive story. One of these volunteers is Lior Sion. He's an Israeli high-tech inventor. He's one of the inventors of what you call Get Taxi. He was taking a walk with his young son on the day that the first missile landed in Tel Aviv, surprisingly. So he was thinking, where should I go? What shelter should I go? So he understood the need with a shelter application, because people nowadays are not going to phone the police where is the shelter when the missile is coming, and they are also not going to the security forces net to see where is the shelter. They need an application, a map application, a shelter map application. So we invented something like this for a day or two. Also some other inventors. The fifth event is the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013. 2 pressure cooker bombs exploded, killing 3 people and injuring an estimate of more than 200 people. The reaction of the emergency authorities was very quick. They were posting and tweeting on Twitter, on Pinterest, Facebook, etc. Also, people from the marathon, some runners were tweeting video films and photographs from the event. People all over the world wanted to help, and they were tweeting and on Facebook, etc. Twitter was the real-time news supplier of this event. CNN, Sky, Fox, all of them, they were applying to Twitter to receive news from the people in the event. There were in the Boston Marathon, there were 10 hashtags. Also, the American Red Cross listed its safe and well site. So you can say to your loved one that you are okay, you are well. And also Google voluntarily listed its person finder site, where people are searching for lost ones. In Boston Marathon bombings, it was the first time for investigating authorities to ask the public for a help called crowd forensics. The authorities, the Boston police and the FBI approach the crowd, they approach the wisdom of the crowd on Twitter, mainly on Twitter and Instagram, sending their information, asking for information about the two terrorists. They showed films and photos, and there was a manhunt, and because of the crowd of the wisdom of the crowds, the two terrorists were captured. One is dead. To sum up all this presentation, these disasters have shown the world that this technology, the digital technology, and the Web 2.0 technology has become the almost sole communication channel that continues working in times of disaster, in natural disaster, and also in mega terror events, and also in mini wars. It has come to pass that during the past 5 years, more and more emergency and rescue organizations have also integrated into their systems social media. So they learn from the wisdom of the crowds. The governments and the authorities adapt themselves to the crowds, to the wisdom of the digital citizen, to the wisdom of the web, to the social network citizen. Cell phone, especially smartphones, is the most important tool in a disaster event. Smartphones, social networks, applications are helping the citizens and the authorities to survive. The sharing of information and pictures during hurricanes and other disasters help to inform the public faster than ever before that there may be a weather danger, or there may be another bomb. Today, digital people throughout the world want digital solutions. They don't want to phone 911. They want applications, and they want maps and shelter maps and status on Facebook or tweeting in Twitter. You don't need to ask someone in charge what addresses need help. You can help yourself, help someone else throughout social media. Recommendation. What should the authorities do? We know nowadays that the digital citizens, the social network citizens are equipped and are well educated for our area. Now it's the time of the authorities. In the future, the authorities will have to incorporate telephone for adults and Twitter and other social networks and applications for youngsters. The authorities should be attentive to the inventions in accordance with the wishes of the citizens. They have to listen to the wisdom of the crowds. Smartphone, mobiles, and social media will replace emergency services. The state should offer these services because that is what numerous citizens want. Another recommendation is to engage in crowdsourcing and also to enable young inventors to do what is accepted of them. Remember our model, CEC, Crisis Management Model. Companies, citizens, emergency authorities, all working together. I was Dr. Galit Ben-Israel Fixler. Thank you very much.